Hello, everybody. I'm Tim McCartan. I'm the Dean of Students here at Monty Ranch High School. I am here to present the information regarding a few different areas. I oversee our Twitter page. I oversee and work with Ashley Shulowich on our SEL program. I monitor the class of 2025. But what I'm here to present about is our emergency drills, discipline, dress code, tardies, those kinds of things. So I'm going to go ahead and get right into it here. Our first slide here, it talks about discipline at the door. We do things a little bit differently here at Demonte Ranch. We don't send students to the office. You'll see if you read through the slide that all you simply have to do is when you have a discipline issue in your classroom and you need administrative assistance, you call 30,000. The office staff will then redirect that information via radio to our administrative team and the Corral staff. One of us will respond to the room and we will deal with the issue right at the classroom. The reason we don't send students to the Corral is typically their story is a little bit different than the teachers, and we want to make sure we have all the correct information and we try and keep the student in class if at all possible. The next slide here kind of gives you some of your options as to what happens when we do respond to a discipline at the door call. You have the opportunity to talk to the student yourself while the administrator covers your classroom for a few minutes. You can have the administrator talk to the student while you continue your lesson. But what I find most effective typically is to have a conversation with the student outside the classroom with the administrator present as kind of a mediator. That maintains the relationship between the teacher and student and doesn't necessarily require the administrator to intervene in that relationship at all. You can also tell the administrator what happened in the room and have the administrator take the student directly to the Corral. And if you do that, that's going to require a major referral and contact home as soon as possible. If we're going to write a referral, we want to make sure that we contact home within about 24 hours. And I'll get more into referrals here in a little bit. But keep in mind, the whole point of discipline at the door is to keep the student in class, learning content, passing classes, earning credit, and graduating. That's why we want to be at the door, so that we have the opportunity to get the kid right back into class. Typically what happens when a kid ends up in the Corral is they give their version of the story. Consequences can't even be assigned at that time because we don't know both sides. And the kid ends up missing a bunch of class and may not need to if we handled it right at the classroom door. So again, please do not send students to the Corral or to the office for disciplinary issues. Just call 30,000 and we'll respond and deal with it right at the classroom door. As far as referrals are concerned, if you're going to write a major referral, there's two different types. There's a major referral and a minor referral. If you're going to write a major referral, the teacher must first be the first line of communication with the family. It's very difficult as an office staff member who wasn't there to contact home and try and describe the situation to the parent. Typically what I want when I make that phone call home is to follow up with the parent, any questions they may have, and then to let them know what the consequences are for that event. After an event is closed, Infinite Campus does send a message, but it does not tell you what the consequences were or anything like that. It just tells you that the referral has been closed. For minor referrals, our staff doesn't get notified down in the Corral at all. That is handled strictly between the teacher, the student, and the parent. That does not involve administration at all. However, it is a good place to document some recurring issues. So if a student is constantly doing something that may not necessarily be disruptive, but may not necessarily follow the guidelines of the classroom, you may want to start documenting that behavior. And if it continually happens, then we can lead to a major referral. This slide's a little difficult to see. Let me see if I can zoom in here a little bit. These are screenshots of Infinite Campus in the Tools tab. You can see on the far left-hand side, I'm going to see if I can zoom in a little bit here. In this toolbar down the left-hand side, you'll see down here under Behavior. When you're writing a referral, when you're actually submitting a referral, you want to click on Behavior down here, drop down arrow, and click on Behavior Referral. Then on the next page that pops up, and zoom in here again, you'll see this New button at the top. You'll want to click on that New button. That's going to open up a window for you that allows you to fill in some information regarding what happened with the student or with the incident. First things first, you'll want to make sure in the drop down here that you click the Corral staff. So you'll want to include myself, Tim McCartan, Marley Baranka, Ben Cofield. Those are the primary ones that you'll want to include on that. And then in this details box, you're going to want to give a description of what happened. So some sort of doesn't have to be an essay, but enough information that I know from your perspective what happened in that incident. And then anything that pops up red, so an event type, the time, date, location, those kinds of things all need to be filled in. You do not need to click anything else. You don't need to fill in any other drop downs, just what's in red, other than the details. And then at the end, you're going to make sure, you need to make sure that you fill in the student name. Let me see if it's on the previous slide. It is. It's on the previous slide. So down here, you'll see where it says student name or complete student number. What I'm usually missing on a referral is this part right here. So if you start typing the student's name and click search, it's going to pull that student up. You need to make sure that you attach the student with this referral. Otherwise, I don't know who the referral is for. Please don't put it in the details. I don't need the name in the details. You can use student 1, student 2, student 3, and so on and so forth if it's multiple students. And then you can include them all here, and each student will get their own window that you can name them as student 1, student 2, and so on and so forth. Listed instructions, select behavior referral, click on new, assign to Corral admin, provide the details, fill in anything that's red, type in the student name, save the draft, and then make sure you click this submit button at the top of the page when you're all done, and that will send it to our staff here in the Corral. Minor behavior, you're actually going to do this a little bit differently. You're going to actually search by the student, and then at the top of the page in one of these bookmarks, you'll want to click on behavior minor, fill out everything that's in red, click on new event up at the top, and then you'll want to fill out everything that's in red and then save the event. It's as simple as that. And again, minor referrals don't notify our office staff. Dress code, just so that you know what the dress code requirements are. Typically, students must be covered from above the chest to below the buttocks. Male or female, doesn't matter. There's no rule about straps anymore. No, finger length or knee length or anything like that. We don't have any of those dress code requirements anymore. So it's just above the chest to below the buttocks. They can't advertise drugs, alcohol, or violence necessarily. You can always ask for discipline at the door to get any clarification on that. Nor can they wear any head coverings other than for medical or religious purposes. We ask that you greet the students at the door every morning, communicate to the student when you see a dress code violation discreetly, or you can call discipline at the door and we'll come up and talk to the student as well. I have no qualms coming up and talking to a student about a dress code violation, or whether or not it's close, or whatever. I'm more than happy to come up and clarify what the requirements are. For masks, you can see what the requirements are. Nothing has really changed there. Must cover the mouth and nose. Don't want anything going over the head. No perforations. It's got to be worn at all times inside the building unless they're eating or drinking. Don't let them take advantage of having a bottle of water on the desk and saying that they're drinking when they're not actively drinking. Then they should have their mask on. Anything that's inappropriate, advertising marijuana, anything like that, we want to make sure that we collect those. One to be looking out for would be maybe a cookies mask or cookies apparel. We want to make sure that we aren't letting them advertise that sort of thing here at school. And then we need to give them a new mask, and then the parents can pick up the inappropriate one from the corral at the end of the day. Swipe is back. This is our tardy process. Okay, we have 4 locations around the school. We have one at the student entrance over by ROTC. We have one at the east end of Main Street, over by the gym in the corral. We have one right by the front door, so right as you walk in the main entrance of the building. And then we're going to have another one across from the counselors, just towards the academic circle from the Career Center. That's a new location this year. We no longer have one in the West Wing. We wanted to centralize that station. So that one is going to be over there and towards that counseling hall now. If a student shows up late, they should be walking in with a swipe ticket. If they aren't walking in with a swipe ticket, tell them to go get a swipe ticket. And direct them to where those locations are. And they should be seeing them. If they're walking in late to class, there's going to be people out in the halls kind of directing them towards the swipe machine so that they know where they are. If all else fails, you can always send them to the corral to get a swipe ticket. Process pretty straightforward. Student swipes and goes to class. When the student comes into class, make sure you check that swipe ticket and verify that it is the correct date and time and that it's their name. We don't want kids taking advantage of the system, so please be thorough with that. And then Swipe, Infinite Campus, and Corral take care of the rest. You guys don't need to worry about the consequences, but I will tell you what they are. We're going weekly this year, so if they have 3 tardies in a week, they'll get a lunch detention. On the 6th tardy, they'll get a second lunch detention, and on the 9th tardy in a week, they would get school beautification. After round 3, then we use some more progressive discipline and potential in-school suspensions or whatever else may be necessary to try and curb that behavior. Emergency operations. We are back to conducting fire drills once a month unless I get told otherwise. We will be doing a fire drill within the first few weeks of school to get our drill done for August. And again, those will be happening once a month. We will also need to complete 2 code reds and 3 code yellows throughout the year. For fire drills, each teacher must explain evacuation routes and lineup locations to each class. Don't wait until a fire drill to let your kids know where those lineup locations are. Make sure that you tell them. And the reason for that is if we have a fire drill or anything that happens during passing or lunch or before school, we have our students report to the next class. So if we're talking about something happening during lunch, kids would report to either their 3rd or 6th period class. You want to make sure that you've explained to them where that lineup location is so that they know where it is, even if we haven't had a drill during that period. You must take your flag and your class roster out with you to your designated lineup spot for each fire drill. Code yellow and code red. Close and lock all doors, cover windows, turn off lights, and remain silent for red. Okay, that's only for red. You want to turn off lights and remain silent for code red. And you may continue working through yellow. You want to complete the code form on the shared drive, and I'll send out an email with directions. When I send out this PowerPoint, I'll send out an email with more clarifying directions with some screenshots of where to find that code form on the shared drive. We're no longer using email to communicate our status in our room and those kinds of things. It's all going to be on a form. And you want to remain in lockdown until you're cleared by a staff member in person. Lots of times for a drill, an administrator will come by, unlock your door, and tell you to wait for the all call. Once you hear that all call, then students can again start utilizing passes, and we'll be cleared from the code drill at that point. Again, if you guys have any questions regarding any of this stuff, please let me know. You can email me. There'll be an email coming out from me with my email on it, but it's tmccartin, that's TMCCARTIN @washingtonschools.net, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have. Thanks. Have a great day.